turns out that I am the evil mastermind behind the project itself. I was the one that scripted the treatment and encouraged and conned all these good friends into helping me out.
How did I get involved with this project? Well, I'm sleeping with the stars, so that made it pretty easy to get involved with the project.
Well, I knew Tom, of course, because he was an actor that I had in The Ethereal Plane, the film I made back in 2001. And I remember meeting his wife. They came to the premiere party at the house, and she was really impressed with the video. She wanted to work with me, and Tom wanted to work with me again.
Kimberly Villanueva is my wife, and she said that she wanted to do this. She needed the money, and you will do this, and you will like it, and put the collar on me. And
as an actor, I need what they call an actor's reel, bits and pieces of film projects that I've done to show to agents, casting directors. I found that what I do have wasn't significant enough, so in a way to take my career in my own hands, I created a project for myself, which turned out to be this video.
And so finally, after a couple of years later, after trying to figure out what project we could do and finding the time to do it, because you know it's hard to find time as older you get to work on films, but finally she presented to me this music video idea she had featuring a Rush song.
I read everything. I loved it. I believe in her and her work very much. We had a lot of great people helping us out, and it was actually fairly easy 2 weekends to do it, and a lot of fun.
I was bound and gagged and thrown into the back of a car.
But I really wasn't interested in doing a music video. I don't like music videos, and I think MTV is frankly a waste of time. Just advertisements for songs, all they are is commercials. But
Kim and Tom were actually introduced, or I was introduced to them by Deb Fiala, who was the assistant director. She's very good friends with them, and I was introduced to them, and we just became friends, and Kim asked me if I would be willing to do this, and I said yes, and then the drunken stupor wore off, and I still said yes.
You know, but when I read the treatment, and it was really a compelling story about a lonely woman who finds her soulmate, and you know, it wasn't a typical video where it's flashy editing. I didn't really want to go for the modern day sort of independent filmmaking look with shaky cameras and flashy editing, and I wanted to tell a pretty coherent and pretty simple story with interesting visuals, kind of keep it dramatic, and kind of keep it very old school in a way.
Why Rush? I have to blame my husband for this, of course. I blame my husband for many things. The State of the Union, the melting of the polar ice caps. He also is one of the main reasons why Rush was chosen for this particular video. About 6 years ago, when we first met, he attempted to introduce me to the music of Rush, and I hate to admit it, boys, but it took a little while for it to catch on. I'm so sorry. At the time, I was dating my husband. I was not very much into the rock music scene.
Clark and myself are probably the biggest Rush fans of the project, and I got my wife to become a Rush fan as well. Took her to a bunch of concerts. It took her a while, but eventually she gets hooked. They all do.
Luckily for me, I was presented with a music video with the music of Rush, because Rush has always been my favorite band, along with Dream Theater. They're like my two bands I've ever listened to, and I've loved Rush for a couple decades now, and I've seen them every time they tour, and they're the greatest.
Actually, Kim and Tom are huge Rush fans, and so this project actually was Kim's idea, and I have since started to become a Rush fan.
Somehow, little by little, I got it, and I completely fell in love with the music of these three gentlemen. I find their music to be, as many people have described it, intelligent, original, and just stimulating for the mind, for the body, for the soul. Does that sound good?
And they've always had a great visual quality to their music, so I had all kinds of great ideas just by hearing a song, and Kim too. I think that's how she came up with the story and the visuals, is by listening to the song and the great music of Rush.
Rush is an obvious choice.
I'd be happy to take the credit for that, but I can't. Well, I can, but I won't.
I think at the time that this video came along, I was reading Neil's book, Ghost Rider, and listening to Vapor Trails a lot, just as a form of habit. I just turn it on and listen. And I was looking at the CD packaging. Now, the CD packaging that I believe also Neil had a hand in choosing along with Hugh Syme had a lot of the Rider-Waite tarot cards within the liner notes. It was something my husband tried to key me in onto when he first got the album, because I actually own the Rider-Waite deck and have had it since high school. Sweet Miracle, particularly as a song, kind of spoke to me over a lot of the others. Something about the song itself, it brought images to my mind every time I heard Sweet Miracle. And eventually they floated around with tarot card images, and it wasn't until I reached the section in the book where Neil speaks about that one encounter with the tarot card reader on the beach in Venice that everything just clicked, and it got written within a couple hours. We did what we called guerrilla filming, which was basically filming on the sly, especially on locations, because we did not have a permit. There were no permits. So technically, well, I hope we weren't breaking any laws. We weren't hurting anybody, that's for sure. We were doing student filmmaking. That's the story we gave, and that's the story we're sticking to.
So it was fairly easy. The only hard parts would be getting the guys back into action. During little cuts. There was the "be a tree" phrase came up a lot when Kimberly was in between shots and chatting with some of the other people, and I had to kind of get her back. And being her husband, you gotta do it nicely if you want to be allowed back in the house that evening. So the catchphrase was just instead of Kimberly, get your ass in gear, it was more be a tree, honey, just be a tree. And
well, the filming process was fairly stressful, fairly rushed, no pun intended. The first day shooting was the card scene, and we didn't start till at 4 o'clock that day because we wanted that afternoon sun look, which is great. But we had to rush and beat the sun going down around 6:30 or so that day. So it's good to work that way. It keeps you focused and it keeps you going. And
it was easy and hard. It was easy. It was easy to work with the people that were involved. Just everybody got along very well and had a similar work ethic. The stuff that was hard was just little things. I think just having to deal with the weather and the cold and the wind and the light. And
we shot at 2 different locations. Down at Rye Playland in Rye, New York, and Seaside Heights at Island State Park. We took the whole process very professionally. We went scouting locations, looking for the right pieces that fit with the treatment that I wrote. Being that I was determined to have fire, campfire, bonfire, some sort of fire on a beach. And apparently in the New York metro tri-state area, they do not allow that. And being that all the actors were in this area, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, and one flying all the way in from LA, we did not have the budget. We did not have a budget to fly everyone to a beach somewhere to have a fire.
yeah, so the second day of shooting was on the beach, and that was also stressful because not only were we trying to beat the sun going down, but the rain as well. Because if you watch the video, I mean, it progressively gets cloudier and darker, which is kind of cool for the look of the video. But we were stressing and beat the rain because it actually literally started raining 5 minutes after I wrapped for the day.
The weather, as before mentioned, was cold. It was cold, and I was standing in the water on the beach in October. It was cold.
Actually, Clark, at one point, his socks and shoes got a little wet while trying to, use the camera, almost in the water, and so he was freezing throughout the thing pretty much.
So there was actually one shot where the rain hit my lens, and I had to remove it digitally. But other than that, it held up great, and thank God we didn't get poured on, because that was our only day to really shoot.
This entire production, from start to finish, was nothing but a ball of laughs. And that sounds cliche, I know. I guess it just was because of the different personalities and all the people and the combinations of where we were, that it was fun from beginning to end.
Gosh, there were so many hysterical moments. I couldn't possibly bore you with all of them, except one that you might see in an outtake.
I had to get a shot of Rich in the foreground with Kim in the background. So, because Rich is so tall, I had to put him on his knees. And
Clark asked me if I would stand on my knees so he could shoot a shot over my shoulder, and then told me to walk out of the frame on my knees.
And so when it came time for him to sort of walk away, he just sort of, one time he just flopped over because he didn't know what to do.
As I'm staring out into the ocean, trying to be all sorts of serious and despondent and sad, I hear this cracking up of laughter behind me.
It may not sound funny, but it was funny. And then picking sand out of my hair for the next 20 minutes was quite hysterical.
There were about two. No, there were a lot of shots. This whole thing, they were great. I have to admit, the Pyrex shot.
Everyone seems to love the Pyrex shot, the famous underwater shot. And I just thought of that, I brought along this Pyrex bowl thinking we'd give it a shot. I didn't think it would really work, but it did work. It worked really great, and it's probably my favorite shot of the film, along with everyone else's.
There were some really creative shots that I really liked. I loved the looking up at the cards through the water. That was, I think, my favorite creative shot.
But the Pyrex shot, which I think everyone so far has commented on, was brilliant.
I think that came out the most interesting, based on how it didn't seem like it was gonna at the time when we filmed it, and we all were really surprised that it looks as good and fits perfectly in the video right where it's at.
We had shot it 50 feet away from the shore, up through the bottom of a clear Pyrex baking dish, which we filled with water, a little sand. So you had my husband kneeling, holding the glass dish.
We used a Pyrex bowl, threw a little sand and water in it, floated the card, and shot the camera through the bottom of the Pyrex bowl.
You had Debbie Fiala, who is the assistant director, kind of agitating the water with one hand. You had the director kneeling next to my husband, trying to shoot up through it.
Again, just Clark's mind thinks, can I do? This will work. We can do it this way.
Again, CGI, which I didn't know that we would use so much of it in this video. The shot of, during the second verse of the song, a tarot card is supposed to blow in the wind and brush against my face and fall to the ground.
When I did the shot of Kim and the card hits her face, I didn't know how the hell I was going to do that in post-production. I really didn't. So we did it a couple times with, Debbie, the assistant director, flicking the cards at her, and none of that worked very well. So I did this pan. I'm panning along on nothing, which I hoped to put the card in later, and I ended up on her face, and she had to watch me to be able to tell when the card would be hitting her. So I did the pan, and luckily I was able to really make it look pretty cool in post with the digital card.
So we ended up doing a wonderful CGI shot of a card blowing in the wind, cutting to it, falling on the ground.
The cards in the fire came out really cool because, like I said, we did the on location, tried doing it for real with the cards and strings, and that looked horrible. None of that got used.
what I had done was color photocopy them and tape them to fishing lines so we could hover them over the fire. Unfortunately, at that point of the day, it started getting extremely windy, so even with our tarot card wrangler on one side and my husband on the other side, the cards seemed to they had like the shakes. They're coming off of something. They were on speed, or I don't know.
And again, I was able to do it digitally, and I think it came out pretty cool. I mean, it gives it kind of a, and it's not supposed to be realistic anyway, these cards hovering, it's supposed to be fantasy, so it gives it a fantasy look, the fact that it's digital and not really there. So I think those shots in the fire were extremely interesting to do. I've never been asked to do anything like that before, nor have I written anything like that before, but coming up with a solution to how to do it, really fun to kind of dream up ideas.
I will say this. I will say that it makes all the difference in the world when you're working with people that are fun, people that take their work seriously, and people that are willing to do whatever it takes to make it good, to just be their best. Kim, especially, for coming up with the idea, for writing the treatment, for just sticking with it and pulling all these very talented people together.
I thought Kim did a really good job. We've wanted to work together on a project for a couple of years now, and I knew she'd do a good job, but she really had to focus on this role because, the whole time we're filming between takes and stuff, we're joking and laughing and having a good time, but when we're doing a shot, she had to just lose that, and she had to be a tree, as it were, and just really focus and become the character, and lose the smirk, be this really dark and lonely character, and going in and out of that kind of thing all day long. I was really impressed to see that, and I think she did quite a good job.
Luis, who played the tarot card reader, is a dear, wonderful friend, talented actor who I worked with in scene class here in New York City for a while, and then he relocated and left us for LA.
But just professional, talented, and he was fantastic as well. A nice guy. I wish I got to spend more time with him.
Rich, who also is now a very good friend and a very talented actor. It made me laugh during this entire process.
That's so graceful!
We're in sand!
Rich just cracked me up. He's just he's too funny. I mean, obviously, just an amazing talent, and this video doesn't even show an eighth of the talent that he has. But his humor is what strikes me the most.
I don't know how to even begin to talk about how talented Clark Smith is. I first noticed his work with a film called Ethereal Plane that my husband was in.
I was hoping he wouldn't come to this.
But after seeing the finished product of that film, I knew he was the first person that I wanted to work on this project. And also knowing that he was a Rush fan also helped, I think. Gave me a little edge in trying to convince him.
Daddy!
It was a real pleasure to work with somebody like Clark, who knew what he wanted but was able to be spontaneous and kind of fly by the seat of his pants and figure out on the fly what was going to make the shot work. And I think, as you can see in the video, it worked.
Clark is another one who's extremely professional, got an amazing eye. Just the things he comes up with, and he just really knows what he's doing.
And then Tom, of course, it was great working with Tom because Tom and I worked together on the Ethereal Plane. He was just an actor in that movie. This time he wanted to just produce and be an extra. He's in the film, of course, but he was the producer. He did a really great job with organizing it and scheduling it and all the stuff that a producer does, and it was really great having him do that, and he did a fine job, and they both did, him and Kim, preparing and getting this whole thing together, because all I had to do was really show up with my equipment, and that's just that's a great feeling to be able to focus on other things besides everything. I mean, in the past I've had to focus on the scheduling and emailing everyone and calling them and seeing if they can all get together. It's not easy getting together a bunch of people to work for free, and boy, they're good at this, and I want them to produce whatever I do next, without a doubt.
The producer. We refer to him as the man in the hat. That would be my husband, who, again, I have to say nice things about him, don't I? Because I have to go home with him. I'm very, very lucky, I think, as an actress, to have someone so supportive by my side, someone who will believe in me and my talents and my career till the end, whenever that will be.
For once in my life, I want to be told.
And he's extremely, extremely a good person to have when you need someone who will be on the ball and keep everyone on schedule. He's wonderful at that, and we definitely needed that on this production. We had a very short time limit for shooting at each location, and he just kept us to the shot list and kept us going, and I think was a great help to Clark.
Hi, Joy. Hey.
How you doing?
So what's it like being an extra?
It's fabulous. Great pay. Hours is free.
All right.
Deb, the assistant director, aside from being a very good friend of mine, also was just able to keep everything together, keep it running, and
Yeah, and Debbie Fiala was an absolute lifesaver, man. She just took control of the extras and really saved me on that. She's a real pro, and I really appreciate her helping with those extra scenes.
and just everybody. It was a lot of fun. Leilani, a lot of fun to work with. All the extras, lots of fun. I think that's it. It was just a great experience overall.
Soup? Well, let me tell you, the best soup in the world is split pea soup. It's the greatest.
I like a cream of tomato. I gotta be careful though. I've noticed as a singer, any of those creamy type of things produce a lot of phlegm, and that makes it really, really pretty.
Getty, you'll appreciate this. I make a mean matzo ball chicken soup. Got the recipe from my grandma.
You know, I like creamy soups. I don't like broth soups at all. I don't know what Rush likes, but I hope it's not broth.
We didn't have soup on set. Soup on set would have been really nice, especially because it was cold. And again, I go back to the cold.
To everyone that I worked with on this, I'm apologetic beyond belief. I'm deeply, deeply sorry, Kimberly, Rich, Clark, Luis, Debbie, R2, all of you. Joy, I did not provide soup. I'm sorry.
The craft services, I wouldn't know how the craft services were because I had about 3 crackers the whole day.
It was run by the man in the hat. And it was essentially a big old bag filled with chips and soda and chocolate. Anything we could actually bribe people to come and eat to work on the film, especially the extras. Extras were easy. They worked for craft service.
There you go.
There's a question, how was the craft service? Well, since I'm the craft service, it was, of course, incredible, beyond belief. I mean, the trillions and trillions of pennies we spent on Cheetos and Oreos and the other, fine foods that you only see in the best of restaurants.
I've worked on dozens and dozens of films in my career. And let me say this. Craft Services has never, ever been better than the craft services on this shoot. And you can take that to the bank.
Luckily, Tom ordered a couple of humongous pizzas at the production house that night. I was starving. It's great to be back. And what I mean by that is I haven't made a narrative, piece of fiction in a couple years. I've done some corporate stuff and some commercials, but none of that stuff's nearly as fun as telling a really compelling story with great visuals and good actors and just...
It was fun.
God damn it, it's cold here. I mean, and that's not to complain, but it was a little nipply, I have to say, for a lot of the shoot. And especially if one notices on some of the shots, people are walking by Kimberly and they're wearing sweaters and sweatshirts and all manner of things. And I'm in this very little thin nylon shirt, freezing my arse off.
Be a tree. That's all I got. Be a tree.
I guess I have to say that I'm extremely happy with this project and the way it's turned out. I am thrilled that I was able to get so many talented people to help me with this project.
Really glad that Tom and Kim selected me to make the film. I know that I think they had some other people in mind that they had talked to, but I'm really glad they picked me, and it was great to work with Tom again. You know, if anyone who knows my work knows I like to work with people from the past projects and bring them back and kind of make it a big happy family.
Again, besides sorry about the soup, I want to thank all you guys. I did thank them, obviously, you know, personally as much as I could. But thank you for believing in my wife and her vision, and thank you for all your help. And really, producing this was extremely easy. Just a professional, bright, wonderful cast crew. Just all the help, all the extras in the back.
And finally, after 3 years of talking about doing something together, we finally did. So I'm really glad that they picked me. I'm glad I did it. It's something I can really be proud of.
And thanks to the guys. You know, Alex, Neil, Getty, thank you so much. 30 years of wonderful music.
I can't wait to see where it leads. Who knows what'll happen with this? Who knows if who'll get to see this? Maybe if I'm lucky, it might be the boys.
I have 2 words for this production. Lackluster.
Let's try this again. This is not working well.
It was a very moving story about a lonely person who finds, you know, hopefully is her
Is it? Makeup!
This is not scripted. Can you tell?
what's the word?
I've known Kim. What's your last name again? Anyway, we go way back. We're like this. This is me over here.
Shut up! Do you see what I gotta work with? Do you see what I got? I gotta go home with that.
Eat soup.
It's a story that flowed and progressed, and I really thought it was a very compelling story. So I'm really glad that she had written such a great story. That's stupid.
I think I'm done, guys. I'm just gonna keep talking and talking.
Sandra Bullock, please, if we ever recast this movie, please consider being the woman that I pick up on the beach.
Camera's shaking as I laugh.
Someday this project will be done.
I remember when Kim first approached me with this production. I said, listen, kid, this is what I have to say. You can take that to the bank.
Hello? I think I'm finished now.